Hello and welcome to the Watering Hole. Thanks for checking out this clip. Don't forget to like and subscribe because that'll make the baby Jesus cry, and I know how much you guys love making the baby Jesus cry. So, the next thing comes to us from The Hill. Pretty reliable source, I think. Yeah.
Generally speaking, to the point of blandness, yes.
Yeah, they try to avoid sensationalism. But this is a pretty sensational headline. Tennessee GOP kill bill to ban child marriage. So I'm going to skip ahead to one of the tweets that I have. Where are we? So Kevin Sorbo says, stop talking to children about sex. I'm going to talk more about this tweet later. No. That's not the one. Yeah, so Kevin Sorbo says, nobody is trying to sexualize your kids, don't worry. So then why is it a problem to ban it?
And yet
we are trying to, but the friggin' Republicans keep being like, no, we like marrying minors. It's like this
reminds me of are you familiar with Nick Fuentes?
Yes, passingly. I know he's got that creepy stash thing going on.
No,
wrong button.
There's a quote of his that is very, very, very yikesy. I covered it ages ago.
So he spoke?
Yes, he does speak.
That's but like every time he speaks, it's very, very yikesy.
Yeah, I know. The last time I covered him, he was talking about the secret sauce of America being young white men. And
ooh.
For somebody who claims to be very straight, talking about young white men's secret sauce on the regular, maybe not the best look for him for what he's trying to accomplish. But no, the quote from him in relation to this, it was when Matthew Gaetz was caught with somebody who was underage, or at least was caught having had solicited at one point, potentially somebody who was underage, allegedly
across state lines.
Yeah, and his thing was, the truly conservative position, if we're being really honest with ourselves here, is actually to lower the age of consent. And I'm just like, so the words you're saying are not incorrect. That is technically, it was more legal at one point in the past, yes. That doesn't make it good.
Slavery was legal once. If you make slavery legal, then slavery will be legal. Definitionally.
I'm actually fairly certain that's a position he supports too.
Oh,
I could
probably
be wrong.
Could
be wrong.
Yeah, so it's like I saw someone in the chat saying, I can't believe child marriage is still legal in some states. It's not some states, it's most states. I think there's only like 6 states that have an all-out ban on marriage of anyone under 18. Like every other state, including liberal ones like California, there are situations where they say, oh no, it's okay in this instance. Now, some are more liberal than others. Tennessee is one of the ones where, like, ironically, the conservative states are more liberal with who they're allowed to marry kids.
Remember what I said about the real conservative position, but so it's if you're familiar with Matt Walsh, this is kind of a thing that he's beat the drum on a handful of times. And like, if technically, like his position on this would be like, well, if marriage is generally only a thing that's allowed between adults, then why should we have to ban child marriage? It seems superfluous. It's already technically not legal because of X thing. Which leads me to go, you don't understand how laws work, do you? We actually need redundancy in our laws because vagueness is baked into several of them. And with this bill, this one is HB 233. The vagueness of this bill is the actual problem. Because the purpose of this, it's literally a fucking 2-page bill. That's all it is. It's 2 pages. And it just talks about reinstating a separate type of marriage that could be understood more under like previous common laws, which really just means you've made a super special, awesome, separate kind of purely heterosexual marriage. But you forgot to put the age limit. You forgot to put the number when this is legal. And the dude who wrote the law, or the dude who wrote the bill, Leatherwood literally said, yeah, no, there's not actually an explicit age. I'm like, oh, so it's not a bug, it's a feature. That doesn't make it better. That makes it worse. That makes it way worse.
Yeah, so David Fowler, who's an attorney and a former state senator, he pointed at, like, the way he's arguing it is that the Supreme Court's ruling in 2015, the Obergefell versus Hodges, it essentially nullified all Tennessee marriage licenses when it opened the spectrum of legal marriage beyond just between a man and a woman. And that was reported in the Tennessean at the time. And so that's kind of, this is supposed to be a counter to that, where it's like, okay, well, if that kind of marriage is for everybody, then we're going to make our own special marriage that's just for us and also children.
Remember, the more kids that are allowed, the more, I'm going to say something that sounds really yikesy. The more gays you allow to marry, the less sanctimonious marriage is. But the more children you allow to marry, the more special it is. That's, I mean, functionally, that's the end result of this. That's just not. I feel like maybe a few people aren't thinking that through all the way.
So to read the ending paragraph, basically what has happened is the Family Action Council, any organization with the name family in it is immediately going to be right-wing Christian conservative sort of thing, which, it introduces them earlier as a Christian-based advocacy group against same-sex marriage. That's what they always are. Anytime there's family in the word, there's a big red flag. They want to continue to let 13-year-olds get married in the state at the sake of their court case against, I think they mean for the sake of their court case against same-sex couples. It's disgraceful. I'm embarrassed for the state of Tennessee, and I can only pray that we bring this back next year and not let them get in the way. Now, there's some. I'm a bit confused with this because there's some back and forth with the legislation. It's like there's some people that are sponsoring a bill that would end the child marriage, and then the Republicans are like looking to table that or get rid of that or vote it down, and then there's like a counter bill from the Republicans, I think. I'm not sure. There's two pieces going on here that I don't quite.
I wish. So there's a problem we have in Georgia, and there's a problem. This problem's mirrored in Tennessee. I can literally drive for an hour and smack Tennessee with my face. There's a problem in both of these states, and that is that a lot of people, red and blue, a lot of people do not actually read bills. They do not actually know what's being passed through the legislature at any point in time. So no matter how much back and forth there is on this, the end result is it doesn't matter. The people who are voting for the Republicans and some of the people who vote blue too, they aren't reading any of this. They have no idea.
Yeah, so Don McCauley in the chat is pointing out that the marriage laws, one of the big problems with child marriage is that under the age of 18, you're not legally allowed to enter into a contract.
Yeah.
The marriage is an exception to that. Things that are not an exception to that are things like retaining a lawyer, something that's needed to get a divorce.
Yeah.
So you're allowed to get married when you're legally allowed to get married when you're under 18, but you're considered too young to understand the implications of signing a contract, so you can't get a divorce.
But
and
Rhino,
that's a huge problem.
I don't think you understand. That is also not a bug, but a feature, because divorce ruins the sanctity of marriage.
Yeah, that's true. They're supposed to believe that, but they don't really fight for that all that often when it's them that need the divorce.
Well, yes, hypocrisy is a lovely thing. Like nobody's saying that that's not a thing that happens. It's just, unfortunately, if we were to accept the things that politicians say when they stand on the podiums, then the position that I just threw out is the one that usually gets stated. Generally speaking, they'll argue that, like, oh, divorce rates go up, that's bad, and it's like, is it though? That just reads to me like people realizing they didn't want to be in relationships with one another. And if we're going to hold the position that it's none of our business, then people divorcing isn't a crisis. It's just none of our business.
It's just what happens sometimes.
Yeah,
Okay.
sometimes you break up with, your child. Oh, wait, no, legally you can't do that. Awkward.